When you are hurt in a crash, you want local representation. The lovely law firm Injury Lawyers are local here in the community with offices in Myrtle Beach and Charleston. We have represented thousands of clients over the years and recovered millions in compensation for our personal injury clients. You only get one shot at this, so give us a call and get your case started today. 843-839-4111.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely, the lovely law firm.
Hey guys, it's Rainey Romero. Thank you so much for joining us for another Carolina Justice Report. Today we're talking all about what's going on with the Camp Lejeune lawsuits. Welcome back. I am joined with attorneys Justin Lovely and Amy Lawrence. How you guys doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Rainey?
I'm good. I'm very curious to hear all about this because I think everybody can agree at this point that we're being inundated with all of these Camp Lejeune info, everything, everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So tell folks a little bit about what's going on and why they're seeing so much of this Camp Lejeune stuff.
Well, so Camp Lejeune and these toxic water claims are going to be the biggest mass tort, mass action ever. Okay. And the reason we say that is we think there's studies are showing there were 1 million veterans and workers who lived in that area during this time frame. And when we talk about time frame, we're looking back with these cases from 1953 to 1987.
Oh, wow. So a while ago.
So millions of veterans and people who just work there. So obviously, if you were exposed to the water, we're talking about your grandparents. We're talking about some veterans that are currently living with these debilitating diseases, and then obviously some cases where they've already passed away, and so we're dealing with their children and their grandchildren who think they may have claims for their grandparents.
So when we're talking about that time period, what you're saying is the water was contaminated during that time period, and so there's all these issues coming up from that being ingested and being all over them, right?
Right. So this whole case turns on contaminated toxic water. Okay. And what we mean by that is chemicals, volatile organic compounds were being dumped into the water system.
Yikes.
And so you had, veterans who were training, Marines that were training, naval officers who were training, they're taking showers in it, they're drinking it. Their children are out while they're serving. Their children are at home, swimming in swimming pools, taking showers. And then, depending on what your classification, what your rank was, you may have been actually working with these chemicals, on the base. And all of these seeped back into the groundwater. Okay.
Ugh,
and so from that time frame, it's just that they were exposed. And you had millions of Marines coming through there being trained. This was the middle of the Cold War. This is the middle of the Vietnam War. All special operations Marines were being stationed there. And so, and then you had their families and you had just military contractors.
Yeah, it's terrible. So what was the water contaminated with?
Well, again, you have all these harsh chemicals, right? These VOCs, right? So crazy. If you watch more of my shorts that I've shot,
right,
we go through each chemical that was exposed. But it kind of started with a dry cleaning business that is the chemicals are seeping off and it's getting into the groundwater. They kind of know about that. When I say they, the government knows
That's
about
crazy.
that. But it all seeps into the groundwater, and then the way the damn pump system is working with the way water was distributed with the water treatment plants, the whole base eventually over time gets exposed. So depending on where you lived, the New River Valley, Hadnot Point, Tarawa Terrace, anywhere on the Camp Lejeune property eventually became contaminated.
What a terrible story. I have so many questions that come to mind when I hear this because you're saying from the 50s to the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's a long time. And you're saying the government knew that this was happening?
Well, they slowly figure it out, right? And they and more information is coming about as we continue this litigation. Mm-hmm. So, and who knows what we're really going to find out about it. But,
right.
Yeah, they knew about it. The EPA does tests on the water. The real big eye-opening test was in 1982. Okay, and this is when so they've been living on base for 53 to 82, and that's when they're testing this water. And the EPA sets safe water limits for these different volatile organic compounds. And when they do the testing in 82, it comes back as 300 times what the average limit should be for safe drinking water.
Oh my gosh!
And so the whole time, it's crazy.
Oh, this is terrible. Okay, so now we know what's going on there and why we're seeing all this water contamination stuff. What happened, like injury-wise, or what are the effects of that bad water?
We're seeing everything from birth defects, stillbirths to cancers.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and everything in between that you can imagine.
Yeah, cancers, Parkinson's disease, terrible, terrible diseases, tooth loss. Like Amy said, women were having miscarriages, right? And they're like, well, what is happening? They had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So, and it all comes back, it was the water. It's just terrible to even think about.
Yeah. So, we've obviously talked about mass torts and kind of how that works with the Carolina Justice Report here. So this is part of a mass tort that's going on right now because it's affected so many people in the country that have been stationed there. And it's not just people on base, right? It's people who were living and working around that area too.
Yeah, so we're accepting any case where, as long as we can prove you were on base for at least 30 days, and it does not have to be consecutive. So if you had if you did 2 weeks, then you went home for 2 weeks, then came back and did another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
As long as you were there for 30 days, and we're going to be able to prove that, then that's a case we would accept.
Okay. So what's going on right now with the cases? We're kind of taking these and it only goes for 2 years, or how does that all work?
Okay, so all this was passed under the Honoring Our Pact Act that Joe Biden just passed. I should call him President Biden, not Joe Biden. President Biden just signed into law a couple months back. And the one nuance to the act is there's a 2-year statute of limitations. So while I'm saying 1953 to 1987, we only have 2 years to get those in. So, and that's why you're seeing all this crazy advertising everywhere, radio, TV, internet, because we got to get the word out. Okay. And if you miss the ball here, it's over with. It's forever bar your claim. There's been attempts to try to bring this legislation, to bring these lawsuits forward, and they've all failed, right? And so the PACT Act and the Camp Lejeune Justice Act of 2022 is the final opportunity to bring a lawsuit against the government, to right these wrongs.
Wow.
They're going to be right. So right now we're already a few months in, so time's already of the essence, and it's getting down. We only have 2 years to get them in, so now year and 6 months now. You have to file your form. Your Form 50, which basically lets the Navy know that you're bringing a claim. Okay, it has to sit for 6 months, right? And then the government has to decide to either act or deny or do nothing, which we're anticipating they're going to do nothing and just let those sit for 6 months. Then you have the right under the law to file your lawsuit. And so then they're going to be filed in the Eastern District of North Carolina. It's a specific jurisdiction for these claims. All claims for everybody all law firms that are handling these are going to be handled right up the road in Jacksonville. So that's where we'll be working these cases.
Crazy. Well, and I found it was interesting too, because because it was so long ago, a lot of these people have passed away, but their family can still bring these claims to you, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a really important part of it.
Right, and we'll investigate and help them do that. There might be some probate work that we'll eventually have to do, but to get the biggest thing is let's just get this first initial paperwork filed and get the case started for them.
Yeah. Well, and this is going on nationwide because, lots of different states have filtered through Camp Lejeune when they were doing service, which makes this even that much worse, that you're there doing service with your family and you have this happen to you. But I feel like it hits us a little bit differently because, we're really close to Camp Lejeune. That's like 3 hours up the road. I used to go there growing up. A lot of my friends dated Marines. They would come down for the weekends. And so, it kind of, I feel like, hits us in a personal way a little bit differently.
Right. And of course they disperse all throughout the United States, but you're absolutely right. A lot of Marines come to South Carolina. When they're done with their duty, they come down here, and we anticipate a lot of local clients.
Yeah, we have they retired here or they're living here now, but a lot of them they came down here just for their time off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They come down because they've got a weekend where they can get away. They come down, blow off some steam, have some fun, and then roll back.
Yep.
Because it's so close, and so we have such a huge tie to the Camp Lejeune people.
Yeah.
It breaks our heart, for sure.
I got my second tattoo up in Jacksonville. So there's that. And I was hanging out with a bunch of Marines up there. So yeah, so I just hate to hear this story in general.
I went to undergrad at East Carolina University, which is not far from there at all. We'd always see a bunch of Marines. They'd always roll into town to come party. Young guys, come hang out at the bars when they have some time off too. So
yeah. How was this kind of, brought up to even start filing this claim? We found out that the government had found out that the water was, being contaminated, so they cleaned it up. But when did this start becoming a legal thing?
Yeah, so, like you just said it, the government knew about it, right? And so there's been attempts to bring these lawsuits. And it's kind of always ran through the VA, try to get more VA benefits. And so slowly there's been some changes made where, hey, we're gonna give veterans some extra VA benefits. Okay, now we're going to open it up to veterans and their families. And then Obama passed an amendment that gave them even more benefits and gave some presumptive diseases that would qualify you for VA benefits. But the issue was when these veterans are filing these claims, they get stuck in the VA bureaucracy. They never get approved or they get denied. Okay, and so a lot of them will just give up or they pass away.
Yeah,
which is terrible, right?
Yeah.
And so then the fight becomes, hey, we got to attack this a different way. And so there were some lawyers that got together, got this bill passed. It was a bipartisan bill that finally got together. Republicans and Democrats voted for this to expand all the veteran benefits that were available. So it's not just the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. There was some veterans benefits for the burn pits that was coming along through all this. But the good news is it's there now, okay? And this is their one opportunity to bring these claims. Even if that, now here's something else. Some people may have gone through that process and been denied. Okay, even if you've already done it before, you have a whole nother cause of action under the PACT Act. So we're looking at all those. Don't get discouraged. We'll still be able to bring a claim for you.
Yeah. A lot of people are comparing this to kind of the Agent Orange thing that happened. I don't really know much about that, but if you do.
Well, that was even, and part of the Honoring Our PACT Act gave even more benefits for veterans exposed to the burn pits and Agent Orange and all that. And then within that is the Camp Lejeune Justice Act.
Okay. So what should folks do if they feel like this is related or they're not sure what you want them to do?
If they have any question, we're taking cases. If you served or you or a loved one were there for at least 30 days from 1953 to 1987, we're taking all cases. Even if you're not injured, but you were there, we want to take those cases because those cases, the fear of getting cancer is sometimes even worse than cancer itself. And there might be in the future, there may be a medical monitoring system that will be set up to take place for you. So anybody who even suspects it, you only have less than 2 years now, reach out to us and we'll be able to take their case and advise them the best course of action.
Perfect. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. We have a ton of information about this on our website, justiceslovely.com, as well as our YouTube. We've got information on mass torts, how that works. Justin had a whole bunch of shorter clips on YouTube where you can get more information as well. We're everywhere that you consume your media. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us or give us a call. Thanks so much for watching the Carolina Justice Report. We'll see you next time.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely. The lovely law firm.
MyrtleBeachBikerLawyer.com.
Motorcycles are a lot of fun to ride, but the thrill quickly fades when you're hurt on your bike. You have seen us in the community. Call us when you need us.
Lovely, justice is lovely. The lovely law firm.
Hey everyone, I'm attorney Justin Lovely, and I'm here with another edition of the Carolina Justice Report. Today I'm here with my associate John Paul Simkovich. He runs our Charleston office out of Mount Pleasant. Just got done with a workers' compensation deposition, and we thought, hey, let's sit down and kind of discuss the workers' comp topic while it's fresh on our minds here. John Paul, how's it going, man?
Doing well.
You're a first-timer.
I am.
Yeah. So this is great. It's the Carolina Justice Report. It's our podcast, as you well know, and we got a lot of people who watch this on social media. Again, if you like it, like and follow us on social media. Follow us on TikTok, and we'll shield out for the law firm there. But let's talk about. Well, before we get into workers' comp, John Paul, tell us about yourself. What's your background? Of course, I know, but let our listeners know where you came from.
So, grew up in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Went to law school at the University of South Carolina. Clerked for a judge here in Conway, up in Myrtle Beach for a year, and then dove into the defense world. I was working for Wilson Jones, Carter & Backstate's big workers' comp defense firm, then worked for another big insurance defense firm until I, quote unquote, saw the light and joined your practice. So, enjoyed actually representing injured folks rather than the insurance companies.
Right. And you bring a unique perspective because you've seen how they deny, devalue, delay treatment. And you're really, since you've been doing this for the last year or so, you're trying to understand the injured person's plight, right?
Oh, 100%. You know, I saw the tactics of the insurance companies, know how they're going to do exactly what you said, devalue a case, undermine it. So I like to think that I can kind of cut that off at the pass and streamline our cases, get results for our clients.
Right, and you've definitely done that, and we appreciate that. The clients definitely appreciate that, and it's definitely it's a good piece to the Lovely Law Firm arsenal. We love it. So let's talk about workers' comp just generally, and I've shot other videos, and our followers have heard me talk about this, but we just want to get your perspective as well. But when the workers' comp system applies in South Carolina, what do you think if someone's hurt on the job? What do you think? What should be the first 3 things, if you can think of the top 3 that they should do?
I mean, number 1, report your injury to a supervisor, the owner, HR, someone superior to you. You only have 90 days to report your accident. If you don't report your injury, then the defense firm or the insurance company can tell you that you don't qualify and it's not going to be accepted. So definitely report your injury. If you do that, they should send you for medical treatment. If they don't, you need to get checked out, get evaluated. If you don't have a primary care physician, go to a doctor's care, make sure you get the treatment that you need. So those are the primary things you should do. And then call an attorney. Hopefully this would be your first work accident and you've never had to navigate the system. Even if you had, it's not an easy thing to do. Other attorneys that don't do workers' comp, they don't know how to handle workers' comp. It's a unique set in a whole niche area of the law that you need someone qualified to actually handle for you.
And people are so scared and threatened. And they may even be actually threatened by their employer when they get hurt. And if they're living paycheck to paycheck, this is a real shock to the system. So yeah, I agree with you. You got to report it. Because if you don't report it, it's game over. How often when you were a defense lawyer did that defense pop up? Did you ever see late claims and then?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was always an argument. Who knew? How they knew? When did you report it? And what happens is someone, you tweak your back, you think you're going to get better, you keep working, you're in pain, and then you reach that, 2 weeks later you go, man, I just can't do it. Well, if you let that draw on after 90 days, they're going to hammer you and say no claim. An insurance adjuster is going to say, this didn't happen. You hurt your back at home. You hurt your back moving furniture. That's not true, but you've already set yourself in a hole.
Right.
So go ahead and report it and get that doctor to document that, yes, this actually happened at work. Tell them that this injury happened at work. So it's in the medical records and you can have verifiable proof.
Now, talking about the medical treatment, you said make sure that you go to the doctor. What would you say to these people who they're like, man, I don't have health insurance? What would you say to them?
Well, your main option would be go to the emergency room, right? They have to see and treat you at the emergency room. You can also call an attorney like us, and we can help, file the claim and get action for you as swiftly as possible.
And what normally happens is when they do make the call to the Lovely Law Firm, we get retained. We will dig into this issue with them, and magically we can get them to pick up the claim and pay for that treatment.
It's pretty funny how quickly once that attorney gets involved, how the insurance company starts doing what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
So don't try and navigate a claim by yourself. Get the help you need.
Okay, so what if you're hurt at work, and let's just use a shoulder for an example. Maybe you use your shoulder every day. Maybe it's a job where you're lifting every day, and you hurt your shoulder, but you're not sure if it's from your job or not. What would you advise to those kind of people?
Okay, so I mean, what you're describing sounds kind of like a repetitive trauma, where you're doing the same activities, you're lifting heavy objects every day, and over time your shoulder starts feeling worse and worse. Once you start feeling to the point that, hey, something's not right, go ahead and report it. When I say report it, tell a superior, tell them I'm having shoulder issues. It's because of the job. The longer you let it linger, the harder it is for you to actually get the benefits you need.
Mm-hmm. Because, they're going to look back and they're going to say, well, hey, this didn't happen on the job. This was a pre-existing. And that's a fight that we have in a lot of our cases. But it is a fight, and sometimes we'll have to have a hearing. But I mean, if it's worth filing, we'll get it filed and get the compensation for the client.
Sure.
So, what if we had this conversation pop up with a couple clients? What if we're dealing with like a mental injury, PTSD, or depression, anxiety, and those are tough claims, but could those be compensable?
They can. Actually, you mentioned earlier I was in a deposition. We just had a similar issue this morning. So there's two type of mental claims. One is because you injured a body part, and that injury is, the pain, the frustration of being out of work. You're not getting the same income that you did to provide for your family, the stress and everything associated with your injury. You start developing probably depression or other mental symptoms. That is compensable. When I say compensable, meaning that is the medical treatment will be covered by the insurance carrier, the workers' comp insurance carrier. The second type of mental claim is if you're in such a extraordinarily stressful environment, high and above what the routine stresses of the day, you can actually develop, mental issues.
Right.
And if you're put under extreme mental stress because of that, that's also a compensable claim. So, again, that's something that you need to document and report.
And documentation is so important because they're going to fight us on those tooth and nail all the way to the end a lot of times.
Yes, those kind of any kind of claim that involves a mental health issue, the insurance carrier is going to fight you every step of the way.
Which is ridiculous, right? Because the PR in the world, mental health is starting to be a bigger thing, but that's definitely a part of it because these people are working for their employer. When they get hurt, they're not getting their full wages. They're getting 2/3 of their average weekly wage, right? And so if you're a breadwinner and you suffer an injury, and then of course there's going to be mental issues, right? And the worry and everything that you have to go through, your bodily injury plus this, I mean, it's a big issue.
Undeniably, and it's the inability to get back to work, provide for your family. You have the stress of your employer, the fear of losing your job, which you shouldn't. We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
And basically people discounting the fact that you're actually injured, which is incredibly frustrating, and it takes a toll on the stress and your mental health. So it is encouraging that there's some more light being shed to the mental health issue of recent, but it's still a constant challenge, and the mental health issues last. You don't snap your fingers and get cured. Yeah. There's no surgery for depression.
Yeah. And the big takeaway that I've heard you say, and I want to just reinforce, is make sure you tell your doctor, okay, so that it's in the medical records. Because what JP says, what Justin says, what the client says doesn't matter. But what the doctor says, what the authorized treating physician says, that's going to be gold if we have to go in front of a commissioner.
Exactly right. So the doctor is who basically, makes or breaks their case, and most of the times with workers' comp, it's their opinions. You and I aren't doctors. We've seen plenty of medical records and kind of can guess what the injuries are of our clients. But like you said, we argue on behalf of our clients, but we don't offer, outright medical opinions. So your doctor's the one that will listen to you. You need to report all your injuries and don't discount them. Don't be stoic. Right. That's not the time for manning up, quote unquote. You need to be honest. This is how I truly feel. Right. This is the pain I'm in. And if you do have a mental health condition, these are really the issues that I'm facing. And, you need to admit it and be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So what if, and this happens in our case, people don't realize they have a claim. We see these in our caseloads. But what if the claimant is worried, or the injured worker's worried that it was their fault?
Okay, so that's a good topic. There is no fault in workers' comp. As long as you are in the course and scope of your employment and an injury occurred, then you're entitled to workers' comp benefits. It doesn't matter if you caused the accident. Say you're driving for your employer going somewhere, and admittedly through your own negligence you rear-end someone and you get injured. Well, in a motor vehicle accident, we know that you might be found at fault, but with workers' comp, you still broke your arm, you still hurt your shoulder or hurt your back, neck. You're still entitled to benefits because you're doing something to help your employer. You didn't set out to get in an accident that day. So there's no negligence in workers' comp as long as you were injured in the course and scope of your employment, which means you're just helping your employer perform the duties of your job, something to their benefit.
Right. Now, what if, and this could be for our clients as well, what can mess up the claim, I guess?
There's a few things. If you do have a pre-existing injury or ailment, you need to let your employer know when you start employment. That only really happens if they ask you. If you had a pre-existing back injury, they ask you if you had a pre-existing back injury and you didn't tell them, and then you aggravated on the job, that could create some issues. Not reporting to a drug test. always want to report to a drug test. Even if you do test positive for marijuana or something of that nature, a lot of times we can still get your claim accepted and paid. You know, the insurance company has to prove that you're actually under the influence of a drug or alcohol or something at the time of the accident. So refusal to take a drug test can be a bigger problem than actually testing positive.
Right.
Obviously, we want you to not test positive, but, you know, it's not necessarily the death of your case. The other thing is horseplay or a, an action that you take. If you get in a fight with another employee and get hurt, then it won't be compensable, meaning that you're not entitled to workers' comp benefits. So those are the three biggest things, and just not reporting to your supervisor in time.
Yeah. And again, like you said, we can overcome, but if you got to help yourself by making that report, or there's not much we can do as your lawyer.
Exactly.
So one more topic, and then we'll shut you down for today. But what if a worker, they're hurt on the job, they've tried to do it on their own, and maybe got some medical treatment, but they're still hurt, and then their claim is denied, or they're getting ghosted by an insurance adjuster or their employer?
Well, we see that a lot. I feel like everyone, you get hurt at work, they start providing you, maybe they'll start paying you temporary compensation payments weekly, maybe they won't, or they'll send you to a doctor. You think everything's on the up and up, everything's going smoothly, you need that MRI or you need that surgery, and you keep calling asking to get it set, and just nothing. You're sending emails, not getting a response, phone calls aren't going answered. That's when you call us, and like we mentioned earlier, once an attorney calls the other side, stuff starts acting, because if stuff starts moving, because if it doesn't, we're going to file for a hearing, go in front of the South Carolina Workers' Compensation Commission, and get a commissioner who acts like a judge to order that treatment to be provided, those payments to be provided. And if they don't, and the insurance company's acting in bad faith, then we'll pursue fines, penalties, sanctions, whatever is necessary. Obviously, we don't want to have to do that, but if we need to protect our client's interest, most definitely.
And the biggest thing for injured workers out there, and this is a good way to end it, is don't give up. Okay, if your claim has been denied, we can help, and this is what we do here. JP and I handle the workers' compensation cases here at the lovely law firm. Again, make sure you report it, get the medical treatment that you need, and then give us a call. Let us get our workers' comp team working on it for you. This is a good way to stop. This is the Carolina Justice Report. Again, I'm attorney Justin Lovely. This is John Paul Simkovich. If you're hurt in Myrtle Beach or Charleston, call us. We handle all on-the-job injuries. We'll talk to you for free, let you know how we can help. And again, like us we're on TikTok, Instagram, see us on YouTube, follow us on the website. Anywhere you consume your social media, we're going to be there. We'll see you next time.
Life gets ugly, justice is lovely, the lovely law firm.
It's terrifying. Nearly half of all daily car wrecks in South Carolina are caused by drunk or drug drivers. I'm attorney Justin Love. If you've been hurt by a drunk, drugged, or hit-and-run driver, or they just caused you property damage to your house, wall, car, or more, call me today. I'll make them pay. Pay for your bills, pay for your lost wages, pay for your pain, and then pay more for punishment. Even if it happened up to 3 years ago.